Good morning, everybody, or afternoon, depending on when you're watching this video. Hopefully, this will make Onshape a little bit easier for you guys. So this is basic part number one. Now, for some of you guys, the videos that are going to be posted today, you're not going to need them because some of you guys have already worked through all of these parts. If that is the case, if you are one of those people, then your job today is to be a good teammate and to help your peers around you. I would like everybody to get through these parts in the next couple of days, and then I'm going to start posting some more parts for you guys to build moving forward. So this is basic part number one, and here's how we're going to do this. So one of the things that I like to do with Onshape is I really am a fan of making sure that I want to draw my shape in such a way that I have the fewest extrusions necessary. Okay. In other words, I want to get this done in as few steps as possible. So I'm looking at this shape, and there's a couple of ways that I could attack this. Okay. First is I could attack it from this direction, which would give me a square. That one would work. Another way that you could attack this is you could attack it from the top, which is basically the same thing. It's going to give you a square, and this one actually maybe this is not the best one because obviously you could draw it and you could cut this out, but we still have this upright here. Okay, so here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to draw it from this view here. Okay, and the reason I'm going to draw it from this view here is it gets me, the extrusion is going to get all of this and all of this, and then the only thing I have to do is cut this and cut this. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. So let me just show you on my first sketch what I did here. Okay, so this is my first sketch. Okay, this is what we're going to be creating. So if you want to pause the video right here, you certainly can. And so this is what we're going to be doing. Let me move this out of my way here. I'm going to start a new part studio. If you don't already have one open, you'll need to create one. And then I'm going to create this on my front panel. Okay, my front plane. So I'm going to click there. I'm going to hit Shift S. That's my keyboard shortcut to start a sketch. So I'm going to do that one more time. Okay, so click on the plane that you want to draw on. It's going to highlight yellow. Hit Shift S. That's going to open your sketch plane. And then the very first thing you want to do is get rid of your other sketch planes so that that's going to, or your work planes, so that it's going to clean up your workspace. And now we're going to go kind of back and forth between this page and this other one. So this was my sketch, 1 1/4 up, 1/2 inch over. Okay, so I dimensioned these after the fact. So first thing we're going to do is draw a letter L. Okay, and don't worry about dimensioning. So grab your line tool, that's the letter L on your keyboard, and we're going to start at our origin point, and we're just drawing the letter L. So straight up, make sure that you got a straight line, straight across, straight down, straight across. And again, I'm not worried about whether or not these are dimensioned correctly. Okay, then come all the way back over. Make sure you hit that origin point again. That's going to give you a grayed out shape, and then hit escape. Once you've done that, whoops. All right, once you've done that, you can hit escape. Sorry, when I was hitting escape, it's messing with my video recording stuff. All right, so we're going to dimension this now. So looking back at our drawing, you've got 1 1/4 over here, 1 1/2 at the bottom, 1/2 inch at the top, 1/2 inch over here. We do not need to dimension this side or this side because this and this are determining what these two are. So 1 1/4, 1 1/2. All right, so we'll start on the left. So I'm going to grab my dimension tool by hitting the letter D. Click on this line. And let me do that again. So here's the thing. When we're dimensioning, one of the things you want to make sure don't, and this one doesn't have one, but you don't want to dimension to a point. Okay, so if you're clicking on a line and there's a point on that line, you want to avoid that point unless you're trying to dimension specifically to that point. The reason you want to avoid that point is it then locks everything in place so that when you try to resize things, it will resize it funny. Okay, so make sure you're grabbing a place where there's not a point already at. All right, so click it, drag it out here to the left, give yourself some room here, and this was going to be 1.25 inches. All right, zoom in, drag that back over because we want to keep our drawings as neat as possible. All right, and then I'm still in my dimension tool, so I'm going to grab this bottom line and I'm going to pull down, and that one was 1.5 inches. Now the nice thing is I remember from my other drawing that this one and this one were both 1/2 inch. So I'll click this one, pull straight up, 0.5, and I'll do the same thing here, 0.5. And you are done with this sketch. Now, some of you guys were complaining about that Chris and Jim, when they were extruding, they were doing it differently than I was. And you are correct. All right. So for me, I like to just hit extrude from right here. You can hit Shift E, or you can slide up here and click this either way. Okay. The first thing I do is give myself kind of an isometric view and then Shift E. All right. And I want to do a couple of things. Okay, the first thing I want to do is I want this to go backwards instead of forward. So I'm just going to click this line here opposite direction. Because if I'm drawing on my front face, I'm not pulling it towards me, I'm pushing it away. So that was the first face. Let me see how far did we extrude it. All right, so in mine, according to mine, we extruded it 1.25 inches. So come back over here and 1.25 inches. There we go. Now we are ready to start our next sketch. All right, so we've got this. So now for sketch number 2, we're going to start on this face up here. Let me zoom this around for you. All right, so as you can see, we're just drawing a rectangle, 0.75 inches wide, 0.25 inches tall, and then 0.25 inches from the side of the block. Okay, so if you've got your Chromebook and your desktop running, or you've got 2 windows running, you can actually pause this if you want to and just hang on to this drawing for reference. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to click on this face. I'm going to spin my view cube around so that it's facing me, and then I'm going to start a sketch. So Shift S. Then I'm going to kind of relocate it so that I can draw what I want. And then I'm going to grab my corner rectangle, which is the letter G on your keyboard. I'm going to highlight this top yellow or this top line. I'm going to click, drag down, and drag over. And I'm going to click again. And I know that I want it to be 0.75 inches wide. I remember that. And I need it to be 0.25 inches tall. And from this line to this line, whoops, all right, see how I did? I'm in my line tool, not my dimension tool. So let me get rid of that and grab my dimension tool, sorry. All right, so 0.25, 0.75, grab your dimension tool and go from this line to this line, and that should be 0.25. It looks like I almost nailed it, but not quite. All right, once we've got that, we are done with our sketch. So we can come up here and click our corner to spin it around. I'm going to hit Shift E, tell it to extrude, and it automatically tries to give me new material. All right, that would be fine if that's what we wanted, but it's not, so we're going to hit remove. And when we hit remove, we're going to tell it to go through all. So you're going to click on that little arrow next to blind and the drop arrow, not this one. This one just changes direction. Okay, so the drop menu through all, that'll take it all the way through the part. Click the checkbox. All right, now we're done. So coming back over to our part, we've got one last thing, and that's this right here. So for that one, that was sketch 3 for me. I drew that on the top plane, 0.75 inches deep, 0.25 inches tall or wide, and then 0.5 inches from the edge. So how do we draw that? Well, we have to select a work plane, okay, or a face. So we're going to select this face right here. I'm going to click on the top of my view cube to rotate it around, and I'm going to start a sketch. Shift S. All right, now our sketch plane shows up and we are ready to go. Same thing, letter G, that's going to get me my corner rectangle. I'm going to start on this wall over here. I'm just going to draw a rectangle. And I got to look back because I don't remember my dimensions. 0.75, 0.25, and 0.5. All right, so we're 0.75 inches deep. All right, and so that's going to be this wall, so 0.75. And then this wall right here is going to be 0.25. And then from this outside, and I'm using my dimension tool because I had to get out of my dimensions. If you've already got those, you're good. But to do this next one, you're going to need to grab your dimension tool. You're going to go from this wall to this wall, and that was 0.5. And we're going to hit enter. And we've got all of our dimensions. Everything's where we want it. Going to click that corner, and we're going to extrude. So Shift E. And again, it's going to try to add material. We're wanting to cut a hole though, so we're going to click remove, change it from blind to through all. I'm going to rotate this around. It does exactly what I want it to do. So I'm going to click that green checkbox, and we are done. We have created part 1. All right, so if you're looking at the drawing that I attached, you need to actually put it in isometric mode, okay, or isometric view to get the exact view that's on that paper, okay? Otherwise, it's not going to look exactly the same, okay? So this is basic part 1. So last thing that you need to do, all right, so throw it in isometric mode. Last thing you need to do is you need to come over here where this mine says BP1, yours should say part 1, right click on it, rename it, and rename it BP1. Okay, that's basic part 1. And then do the same thing for your tab at the bottom. Right click on that tab, rename it. Okay, so we don't want part studio 1, call it BP1, so basic part 1, and that's going to get you there. All right, so that is basic part 1. Tune back in to the next video and we'll walk you through basic part number 2.